Hi, everyone. I'm Nicholas from Locarno, and Lily and I are both really excited to be here with Ham on Rye, which was one of the wonderful discoveries that we made for ourselves. Other people already knew about it, including probably a lot of people in this room. I think this was the fourth time I saw the movie, but the first time I saw it properly in a movie theater. And I have to say, it just keeps getting stranger for me, actually. And I, of course, mean that in the best way possible. And so I want to start by asking you, Tyler, the most basic question that I have a feeling I never asked you, which is, where did this all start for you? Both as a story, a theme, and maybe also as a project.
There is a very decisive moment where the film began for me, actually. It was in a jacuzzi in Oregon. I was with a few of my close friends, and someone mentioned, very much in passing as a joke, actually someone who's here tonight, mentioned, places where you hook up, yeah, like a sandwich place, as a joke. It was a silly joke, but my eyes lit up, and I was like, whoa, yeah, there's a film, I'm gonna make the film, I'm gonna make that film. And they looked at me like, what are you talking about? And then, I don't know, I became very infatuated with this place where all these people would go and they would dress up, at their very best clothes and hope to find love. It just really, really took me in. And the vulnerability in the people who would come to this place and play this silly game, it became really important to me. So I think it all kind of stemmed from that feeling of these people in there, with their hands in their pockets and the sandwiches being made in the back, yeah.
What about the sense of place in this movie? I mean, preparing to come see it again and talk to you about it in public, I was feeling weird about being a New Yorker who works for a Swiss festival who was going to talk to a Los Angeles audience about a really Los Angeles movie. But it felt less Los Angeles to me than ever before watching it in Los Angeles. And I'm not sure if there's a clearly articulated question here, but I know that you didn't grow up in LA. The film is really LA and really universal American. So I'd just like to hear you talk about your sense of place in this film, and maybe that's a way to get Carson into the conversation about how you guys thought about the look of it, and obviously this is a night and day film, and those differentiations.
Well,
big question.
Well, I think that the answer to that question also might be in the sense that I live here. I live here because I felt it was kind of reminding me of home. I think a lot of things I'm learning are connected to home for me. And Los Angeles is super suburban. I wanted to really take all the Los Angeles parts out of it, and Carson and I talked at length about how we would do that. And I wanted to emulate as much as I could my impressions of growing up. And every time I go home, I'm like, oh, we didn't get it at all. This is so different.
Yeah. Where's home?
Long Island, a place called Smithtown.
I actually think almost everyone who was a producer and kind of like central to the crew of the film is from the East Coast, New England specifically. I mean, you're a little more northeast, but we were looking around Los Angeles for places that felt like New England. And it's a truism that LA always stands in for something else. Los Angeles plays itself, tells you that. But yeah, so we were trying to find neighborhoods that would feel kind of universal, and we settled on a number of different neighborhoods, but I think my favorite one that we shot at for much of the movie, actually where Monty's is located, the cafe at the center of the movie, La Cañada it's called. It's like a so maybe some folks live there. It's right near Pasadena. So it has a lot of foliage, which makes it feel very different from LA. And then the trick for me is just framing out palm trees as much as possible.
And red
a few
curbs.
snuck in there, but
What was it? And red curbs too. Get them out. I mean, they're in there, but you gotta get them out.
yeah, you gotta get them out. But yeah, I feel like the streets are maybe a little narrower in La Cañada too, in a way. Like you come around kind of central Los Angeles, and it doesn't feel like New England at all. So But we weren't trying to make it feel like New England. It was really trying to make it feel more like it could be anywhere in North America.
Any questions from the audience, which I can barely see? Okay, the audience isn't jumping to the... someone's jumping. In the third row? Do we have mics or not?
Hi, I think my voice is loud enough anyways. So I'm not too sure I clearly understood the whole story.
It's okay.
Is it the story is like parallel universes? Is it a story about the same story but in different eras? I'm really not sure, and I'm totally sober, by the way. I'm not sure I've clearly understood the full plot.
Well, you are touching upon a conversation we had going into the film, which is it's so drenched in nostalgia that we wanted to evoke the 70s and the 80s and the 60s and the 50s and the 90s, all of it as kind of a catch-all of nostalgia and this kind of traditional energy. You know, I wanted all these eras to be a weight on these people going to this tradition, this ceremony at Monty's. I find it inescapable. How could you deny something that so many people before you have done? And obviously, when they come out the other side, it's extremely modern. So it is kind of playing with time, in that way. But I don't know. Maybe there are alternate universes. I don't know.
Well, you could argue, for me, the question kind of makes sense in terms of parallel universes. Like, you could even say like winners and losers. Some people get to leave their hometown or go on to wherever it is that they're going on to, and these other people are stuck. So in that sense, like, there's kind of a parallel there.
Right, and one of the things that I think we were really interested in this film, which started on a short film I did called Wildflies, is where you focus on an ensemble cast, and I like to bring a lot of people into the film. You know, I really enjoy kind of the people watching and a kaleidoscope of different faces, and I love creating parallels between them. You know, at some point I feel like I realized this film was about fear of becoming someone maybe you don't want to be, and I think that there's a lot of people that Haley, who's I guess at the center of all this, could end up as. You know, she could take that track or that track or that track. I mean, when you get to a certain age of adulthood, you realize this fork, this path in front of you goes so many different ways, and they all seem really, really terrible. So that's kind of that's a parallel universe, I guess, in a way.
I think we should also mention. Okay. Just that originally, when we first started talking about this movie, Tyler and I, we thought it might be a short. Tyler was like so ecstatic about this short that would just kind of center around the Monty sequence. And then one day he called me and he's like, no, it's a feature. I just like had the eureka moment, and I know exactly what everything is. And that there's this whole other side to the film. So it became, I don't know if you were watching a lot of Altman movies around the time or something, but it became this much more panoramic portrait of a town than just kind of a single event. But yeah, but there were like a number of experiences in our lives and some of the people on the crew, about friends that we had from back in the towns that we grew up in. To be honest, like, one of my friends passed away, one of your friends passed away, and then another producer's friend passed away. Right as we were making this film, and so it just got us to start really thinking about, the suburbs and what it means to stay behind and not end up pursuing the same ambitious career as some of your peers. So I think that was kind of an impetus to really expand the film for all of us.
Another question from the audience? I see a hand back there. Can't be more specific.
I'm just curious more about your casting and costuming process. Seeing it on the big screen, I think I'm just struck by how every single person in the movie feels like a very distinct character, and every single costume choice feels distinct from each other in a way that I think is really special. I was curious to hear about like how did you cast the thing, and then how did you go about like determining every one of those looks and kind of every one of those key little bit parts.
Yeah. Well, I know that when you make a film for essentially no money, you really have to. You can't be too premeditated. You have to really see what there is out there, and we were able to cast it super extensively through a very bizarre business around here called Cast with a Z, which is now no longer. And it's totally free to cast there. I don't understand how it works. Well, it didn't work, so. So we saw really, like, I think 1,000+ people, and it's very intuitive. Someone walks in the room, and if you feel, well, this person's making me feel things, then they're in. And how are they going to be in? We'll find out. You know, like I know what their, kind of aura or whatever is providing, and we'll fit them right in the narrative. So a lot of it was done in this way. You know, you find someone who you think they have this vulnerability to them, because a lot of actors in Los Angeles don't have this vulnerability, seemingly. Obviously, everyone does. But they come in and they're like superstars already. It's like you're 12 and you're really, or 15 or whatever. But so many people I've met that made it to this film, I thought had a real tenderness to them, that a real sense of humility, and that was the magnetism of the casting, really. And as far as the costuming goes, I worked with a team, and they were really really thorough in collecting all these old garbs. Actually, I remember we did there's a lady in this film named Laura Burnett. She's here, and her son Philip, who I actually worked with in a tutor capacity for a number of years, and we did what's it called? Like a drive, bring in your, at his middle school, sorry, bring in your old dresses. We're donating them after we shoot, but I didn't say that part. So we've sourced the costumes in a lot of weird ways like that. I remember being in someone's garage and they were like, my mom, like, that's her old thing. That's her other old thing. I'm, okay, I'll take it. I don't know. I just Craigslist. I don't know.
Just real quick, I think since we're talking about cast, we should just mention that several of the cast are here. If you can stand up, we could just quickly call you out. Wow, that's more than I thought.
They're so much older now, some of them.
Wow.
Any more questions? Over here?
Hi. How much of the film was discovered in the editing process? Just watching it this time, just floating into these small short stories for 45 seconds. How much of that was scripted originally, and how much did you discover later on?
Right. Well, sort of going off what I was saying earlier, you can only premeditate so much on a small budget. And there was a lot of moments of the film that we knew how they were going to pan out, and they are pretty much as they were conceived. And a lot of moments where we knew this was like an ad-lib section. We were going to film this section and have people saying random things. I'm sure there's one person that you can tell was saying random things that we didn't write for them. And then we'll figure it out. That happened a bit, and there was a lot of exploration. A lot of scenes were cut, actually. I keep forgetting that there were scenes that we shot that are not in the movie anymore. And actually, the script was conceived to be mainly 2 days. It was one day and then 2 days. They almost had equal time. And then, actually, I was sitting in this theater and I was like, I need to change the film. I need to change it. And then it seriously halfway into the post process did it become mainly 1 day narrative. So it was very, very, malleable. And our editor is here, Kevin Anton. He's also an executive producer. He's amazing. There are 2 scenes in the film which we didn't even really touch after he edited them because they were just perfect. I mean, he's perfect.
It's funny. I think it was very premeditated before we went into production. I remember we had a meeting where we talked through every single shot, and I saw the movie in my head. And we did make that cut, and it didn't quite gel like we thought it would. So then we were like shooting pickups for so long, and we kept adding little scenes. So some of this stuff was shot much later. But I mean, this is now a final cut. So you're seeing a final cut, or at least knock on wood. But yeah, some of these little vignettes that kind of weave in and out are pretty recent additions, but we felt like they were crucial in maybe establishing some emotional logic, or a little bit of a development to a character that we, that didn't have enough development.
Another question? Over here?
Is there any special significance to the pig toy that you see a couple times throughout the film? Any story behind why it's there?
It was written. I don't know why I wrote that, a pig, but I was interested in. We were talking about parallel lives, and a lot of this is about alienation and how everyone's kind of trapped in their own little bubble, all next to each other. I know that's something that interests me, and I love to see this one object cross from one sphere to another. To the point where when it ends up in the other, they're just like, what is this? I don't understand. To me, it was a way to highlight the disconnect in a kind of a fun way. Also, the movie is about ham,
There's the line about porking early on.
I was gonna say that, and I was like, I won't say that.
I'm glad you. I'll say it. I'll be the one to say it. I don't know if anyone knows that slang word. Okay.
Another question?
We see it.
If she is Chelsea.
What does the white light represent in that scene, the dance scene, that like really bright white light? What is that about?
Right. This is sort of an awkward question. It's a good one, but it's awkward for me to answer. How do I say this? The film is about a fear of sex in some ways, so yeah, that white light I think is the climax.
Or it's whatever you want it to be.
It's not. It's just the climax.
Or it's just white light. It was hard to create, actually.
It's just the apex of, this movie's about crossing thresholds, entering new spaces you've never been to before. What better to show that than something that's completely surreal and strange? Because that's how it is. You cross these thresholds, you look back, and you say, look, what the fuck? What was that all? That's it.
Another question? Yeah, kind of in the back there in the middle.
So there seems to be like a couple scenes where it almost seems like intentional fourth wall breaks. Was there any specific significance to those, like with the pig toy, and when the one guy's talking about his uncle with the jewelry store, they almost seem like they're delivered straight to camera. So it's like, I was just wondering what the significance behind those shots was.
I'm not sure. Well, the Billy's big monologue, he is kind of looking, not at camera, just off.
Right.
I don't know. Cooper's here. His face is great. Don't you want to see it? looking right at you.
Another question? I'm not dismissing that question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think it's funny. I don't know. He looks at the camera. Actually, you know why that is? Because that originally was shot to be someone's POV in that seat, but we shot it on a tripod, so it didn't become that anymore. So it just became this weird thing.
And I will say that just although there is like a sort of like a formal consistency to the first half and the second half of the film, like there are, you can define those halves in terms of how they're presented. We did feel like we wanted to be really flexible with trying new things and not letting the film feel like it's stuck in a certain stylistic groove. We enjoyed the idea of mixing it up here and there and playing around, and Tyler's full of inspirations, and so are everyone else. So, yeah.
We have time for a couple more questions. First one here.
Could you speak to how similar San Fernando Valley is to Smithtown? I'm from the East Coast, but I've never been to Smithtown before, and I would just love to know how it inspired the specific locations, because it's interesting.
Well, I think that the big unifying factor would be strip malls,
Yeah.
unfortunately. The town I'm from is a commuter town to New York City. It's really just a railroad that goes there, and then a bunch of strip malls and residential areas, and it's pretty similar to how the valley is, situated. So mainly in that way. Also, it's quiet. There's a lot of trees in the valley as opposed to other places, and there's also this weird feeling walking down the streets in the valley. I used to live there for a number of years. Actually, we made the movie on Rye Street where I live. That's fun.
Yeah.
But you walk around these back neighborhoods and you look at all the houses, and they all feel kind of like these don't walk anywhere near this. They have this they're communicating something. Actually, I had this weird experience where I realized that every house has their own security sign. It's so in this way, private strip malls, quiet, people going place to place.
I forgot that I should have given a shout out to the valley, because we did shoot a lot of it in the valley as well. Like deep valley. Like just driving around. We had so many scouting sessions where we're just driving around the valley at night, and I feel like I'm disassociating after a little while. Just every street is the same, but we were kind of trying to tap into that blandness a little bit. I mean, I love the valley. I'm not trying to shit on it or anything, but we did shoot a lot of it there.
A last question? What? Oh yeah, I see that hand waving.
Tyler, your work in the film genre or sphere it makes grand use of the collective protagonist in interesting ways, not only in this, but in all of your work that I've seen. Now, they all do seem to be like their own universes running parallel with each other inside one real world, which is not real, which is ironic. Though, I'm curious about how much of this world that you created, how, in terms of its inspiration, how much of it is autobiographical material, either stuff you've experienced or things you've witnessed, or how much of it is of your imagination, and if it is the imagination, what sorts of things that are you trying to articulate by those imaginations?
Excellent question. Well, kind of what I was saying earlier, that I don't know how imaginary it all is. I mean, I have a De Sica sort of mindset when it comes to the films. He believed that everyone can play themselves, and I love to meet all these people that ended up in this film, and I wanted to honor them for who they are and who I see them as. I mean, some people were obviously going off of who they are, but I really saw something beautiful in these people, and I wanted to just show it. And actually, one way in which that we wanted to achieve this sense of fragmented alienation in this mosaic is these actors who were in this film, they were not allowed to read any scenes that they were not in, so they were only given their own scenes, which really adds to how strange it is that they agreed to be part of the film. Thank you. But I think some of them are seeing the film and learning the story for the very first time being here right now, which is crazy. And I think that I remember hearing that when we were shooting at Monty's, the kids were trading knowledge on the film. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah, it's just all about honoring these people. I see it as a very kind of humanist, people-loving film.
Okay, let's thank Tyler and Carson and everyone who worked on this beautiful movie.
And thank you. You've all been such a help because you all worked on this film, maybe. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, everyone. See us at Senior Fish. Oh, Jordan's going to tell you that right now.
Same thing I said before, Senior Fish, 1 block out the left of the door. We'll see you there.